Did you know there's a small nation on the island of Borneo where every citizen enjoys free housing, education, and healthcare provided by the government? Sounds like paradise, doesn't it? But what happens when all of this depends on oil? Brunei, a wealthy country fueled by its oil and gas reserves, is grappling with a critical question. Can today's wealth sustain a prosperous future, or is it just a fragile bubble waiting to burst? In this video, let's find the answer to this question together. Brunei, with a population of just around 460,000, is one of the smallest nations in the world. Yet, thanks to its oil reserves, it ranks among the wealthiest. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Brunei's total GDP reached approximately $15.3 billion in 2023, with a per capita GDP comparable to developed nations, surpassing $35,000 annually. Incredible, isn't it? Revenues from oil and gas not only allow the Bruneian government to maintain a high standard of living, but also enable a welfare system envied by many countries. Let's take a closer look. Free healthcare. Bruneians never worry about hospital bills. The government covers all healthcare costs, from basic to complex treatments, even for cases requiring overseas care. This has resulted in an average life expectancy of 77 years, placing Brunei among Southeast Asia's top nations in healthcare. Free education. Beyond basic schooling, the government provides full scholarships for outstanding students to study abroad in countries like the UK, the US, or Australia. This not only raises educational standards, but also offers Brunei's youth access to global knowledge. Affordable or free housing. Through national housing projects, the government provides low-cost or even free accommodations to low-income families. Nearly 50% of the population resides in government-built housing, ensuring basic living standards for most citizens. These policies have brought about remarkable social stability. In Brunei, issues like unemployment or extreme inequality are rare. People feel secure in their lives, reducing the likelihood of major social conflicts. But like any double-edged sword, Brunei's heavy reliance on oil also presents significant challenges. Currently, Brunei remains almost entirely dependent on oil and gas. Over 60% of its GDP, 90% of its export revenue, and 70% of its government income come from oil and gas. This makes Brunei's economy highly vulnerable to fluctuations in the global energy market. A prime example occurred in 2020 when oil prices plummeted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Brunei's economy suffered greatly, with negative growth of minus 1.6%. When the nation's sole economic pillar wavered, there were no other industries robust enough to offset the losses. Wealth from oil has fostered an overly comfortable economy, leaving Brunei without strong incentives to develop non-oil sectors. Think about it. If your life is fully subsidized, would you feel motivated to take risks or innovate? Brunei is now facing the resource curse, a phenomenon where natural resource wealth undermines long-term economic stability. Currently, industries like tourism, technology, and manufacturing in Brunei remain underdeveloped, contributing less than 20% of GDP. Although Brunei's oil reserves are considered abundant relative to its small population, energy experts estimate that without new discoveries, the reserves could be depleted in 20 to 30 years. What happens then? A future without oil and no alternative economic engines would put Brunei in an unprecedentedly difficult position. Price volatility is another looming threat. With such heavy dependence, Brunei has little control over its economic destiny. So how will Brunei break free from this dependency? Will it innovate or accept the risks? Let's explore these questions further in the next part of the video. Brunei is not the only country dependent on oil, but how other nations address this challenge can serve as valuable lessons. Norway, too, once relied heavily on oil and gas, which accounted for over 30% of its GDP during the peak years of the energy industry. However, what sets Norway apart is its early preparation for the future, beginning in the 1970s when the oil and gas sector started booming. Instead of spending all its oil revenues, Norway established the government pension fund Global in 1990. Today, this fund is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, with a total value exceeding $1.4 trillion. This fund functions like a massive savings vault, accumulating financial resources to ensure Norway's economy can function normally even when oil reserves are depleted. Profits from the fund are invested in thousands of companies worldwide, diversifying risks and generating long-term stable income. Thanks to this, Norway has been able to reduce its reliance on oil and gas, while strengthening other sectors such as technology, tourism, and green industries. If Norway exemplifies sustainable resource management from the West, the Middle East offers fascinating lessons in innovative thinking. The United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar are prime examples of efforts to diversify economies in a region historically reliant on oil. The United Arab Emirates, once almost entirely dependent on oil, realized early on that this resource would not last forever. Starting in the 2000s, they embarked on a journey to diversify their economy, with ambitions to transform Dubai into a global hub for commerce, finance, and tourism. Today, Dubai, one of the 7 emirates of the UAE, has become a symbol of modernization, attracting millions of tourists annually, with landmarks like the Burj Khalifa and the Palm Jumeirah. Notably, Dubai's tourism and real estate sectors now account for 30% of the UAE's GDP, while oil contributes only around 40%, showcasing the fruitful outcomes of reducing oil dependency. Saudi Arabia is also actively adapting. In recent years, the nation unveiled Vision 2030, a bold plan to diversify its economy, focusing on renewable energy, tourism, and technology. A standout initiative is the NEOM Smart City project, worth $500 billion, designed as a global hub for technology and innovation. Additionally, Saudi Arabia has heavily invested in religious tourism. Millions of pilgrims travel to Mecca and Medina annually, generating stable non-oil revenues. Impressively, in 2022, the non-oil GDP of Saudi Arabia grew by 5.9%, a remarkable figure amid a global energy crisis. Qatar, a small country in both size and population, similar to Brunei, offers another model of innovation. With one of the highest GDPs per capita globally, about $80,000 in 2023, Qatar has pursued long-term strategies in industries like sports and education. The most notable highlight is hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the world's largest sporting event, which turned global attention to Qatar. The World Cup was not merely a sporting event, but a strategy to promote the nation's image. Qatar invested over $220 billion to build modern stadiums, public transport systems, and luxury hotels. These investments not only served the event, but also laid the groundwork for long-term tourism and trade. Beyond sports, Qatar has also emphasized education and research through its Education City, home to campuses of renowned universities like Georgetown and Carnegie Mellon. This is how Qatar invests in human capital to prepare for a more sustainable future. Furthermore, Qatar established the Qatar Investment Authority, QIA, a sovereign wealth fund similar to Norway's, to channel oil and gas revenues into global investments. Looking back at Brunei, the similarities with Qatar are clear: a small population size and heavy reliance on oil and gas revenues. However, while Qatar has leveraged its resources to build new economic sectors, Brunei has yet to make a comparable transformative leap. What will happen when Brunei's oil and natural gas reserves are depleted? This is no longer a distant possibility, but a foreseeable scenario within the next few decades. According to the BP Statistical Review of World Energy 2023, Brunei currently produces around 102,000 barrels of oil daily, with an estimated 1.1 billion barrels of oil reserves. The country's oil supply could run out in 20 to 25 years if extraction continues at the current pace. Natural gas, the second pillar of Brunei's economy, fares no better. With reserves of around 300 billion cubic meters, this sector could last another 30 years, depending on the extraction rate. These figures raise a critical question. What will Brunei do when its two primary economic pillars collapse? When imagining this scenario, the first image that comes to mind is grim, a resource-dependent economy plunging into crisis. But the real question isn't just about dwindling resources, it's about preparation. Has Brunei truly prepared itself to face such a future? Let's take a look at current indicators. Brunei's economy shows slow growth, registering only 0.7% in 2022, much lower than its Southeast Asian neighbors. More troublingly, non-oil sectors have barely developed. According to the World Bank, non-oil industries contribute less than 40% to GDP, a sobering figure given the looming depletion of oil reserves. Brunei's comprehensive welfare system, which includes free education, healthcare, and housing, has provided enormous benefits to society. The poverty rate is almost zero, a rarity even among developed nations. However, this safety net hides a significant issue, a dependency mindset that dampens motivation, especially among the younger generation. According to the Labor Force Survey, LFS, Brunei's unemployment rate in 2023 was 5.1%, higher than the Southeast Asian average. Alarmingly, youth unemployment, ages 18 to 24, stands at 16.8%. Some experts argue that the generous welfare system discourages people from seeking employment or striving for self-improvement. Compounding this, an economy reliant on oil creates few high-quality job opportunities. How can a nation motivate its citizens when they've grown accustomed to being cared for from A to Z? This is no easy challenge. Once dependency becomes ingrained in a society, it is incredibly difficult to reverse. Adding to the problem is Brunei's education system. While fully funded, it has yet to focus on equipping students with skills needed to compete in the global job market. The system also lacks strong ties to key industries, leaving many graduates struggling to find suitable jobs. Another issue is the lack of diversity in professions and economic sectors. Most jobs remain concentrated in the oil and public sectors. This leaves many young people, particularly those with higher education, feeling unchallenged, leading them to seek better opportunities abroad. This creates a vicious cycle. A robust welfare system diminishes work incentives, leading to an undiversified economy, which further limits opportunities for young people to grow and thrive. Brunei's future could follow one of two paths. One is to continue relying on its natural resources until they are exhausted, risking an economic crisis. The other is to boldly transform, drawing lessons from countries like Norway, the UAE, and Qatar that have successfully navigated similar challenges. But time is running out. Without immediate action, Brunei risks squandering its last opportunity to reshape its economic destiny. Wawasan Brunei, 2035, introduced in 2008, is a long-term development plan aiming to build a prosperous and sustainable nation. It revolves around three main pillars: a highly skilled workforce, a dynamic and diversified economy, and a high quality of life for all citizens. The first pillar, a vision for human resources. One of Wawasan 2035's key goals is to develop a globally competitive workforce. The government has implemented numerous policies to improve education quality, including expanding international programs and collaborating with prestigious universities. For example, the University of Brunei Darussalam, UBD, is being upgraded with multidisciplinary programs focusing on technology and entrepreneurship. However, Achieving this vision requires addressing a critical challenge: how to motivate citizens to participate in the labor market instead of relying on welfare. The second pillar, diversifying the economy. As highlighted earlier, Brunei heavily depends on oil, which accounts for over 60% of its GDP. Wawasan 2035 aims to reduce this dependency by fostering new industries such as tourism, financial services, and green technology. One notable project is the development of ecotourism, leveraging the country's natural beauty and unique Islamic culture. The Ulu Temburong Rainforest Reserve exemplifies this effort, emerging as a prime destination for nature enthusiasts. In addition, the government is experimenting with renewable energy projects, ranging from solar power to green hydrogen production, to prepare for a post-oil era. The third pillar, enhancing quality of life. A key focus of Wawasan 2035 is ensuring a high standard of living for its people. This extends beyond welfare to include a clean environment, modern infrastructure, and a stable society. Currently, Brunei is heavily investing in smart urban development projects, aiming to create cities that are both modern and eco-friendly. Furthermore, its healthcare and social welfare systems continue to improve to meet the needs of a growing population. Wawasan Brunei 2035 is an ambitious and visionary plan. However, turning it into reality requires more than just a strategy. It demands strong commitment from both the government and its people. While oil has brought Brunei to where it is today, it is human willpower and creativity that will safeguard its future. Brunei may be at the most pivotal crossroads in its development history, a nation wealthy from oil. But is that enough to secure a sustainable future? Wawasan 2035 is Brunei's declaration that it not only dreams, but is determined to turn crises into opportunities. What about you? What do you think about Brunei's future? Can it overcome these challenges and achieve its 2035 vision? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming content.